Disclaimer: cases of measles are skyrocketing faster than the CDC weekly data updates. As of filming, there are 171 cases so far in 2026. There is already a large outbreak in South Carolina. There are cases in North Carolina, Ohio, Georgia, Maryland, and Oregon. I will send out periodic updates. This video is a review of 2025 data. Hopefully this information will spark the urgency it requires. I'm Wanda Frazier. This is Your Body and You. A review of measles in 2025. In 2025, there were 2,144 confirmed cases of measles in 45 jurisdictions of the United States, the highest number since 1991, so 34 years ago. There were also 3 deaths. Texas suffered 2 deaths of children. 1 death in New Mexico was an adult. The United States did reach elimination status for measles in 2000. However, we are in danger of losing that status. The states that suffered the most were Texas, South Carolina, Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico. Montana had its first cases since 1990. On this image, the darker the color, the more cases of measles. Age groups. The CDC groups measles cases into 3 different age categories: under 5 years, 5 to 19 years, and 20 plus years. Children made up the majority of cases in 2025. Outbreaks. Measles is easily transmissible, so it is often spread through outbreaks. In 2025, there were 49 outbreaks of measles in the United States. Some of these outbreaks cross state borders, such as the outbreak in the southwestern United States. Common places outbreaks occur include emergency rooms, schools, daycares, airports, and correctional facilities. A note about measles data. Measles is a reportable condition to the CDC, but not everyone goes to a doctor. So the CDC suggests that actual cases of measles may be much higher. Background. Measles is also called rubeola. Rubeola is the medical term. Measles refers to the rash that develops on the skin and the subsequent misery of the patients. Measles is a virus and extremely contagious. 90% of the susceptible people in a location can be infected by one host. Measles is spread through respiratory droplets in the air or on surfaces even up to a couple of hours after being expelled. So isolating the patient prevents spread. If possible, let doctors' offices and emergency personnel know about symptoms before or at the beginning of a visit. There is an incubation period of a week or 2 from exposure to the development of symptoms. The first symptoms of measles may look like a cold with conjunctivitis. A couple of days later, Koplik spots may develop inside of the mouth. A couple of days after that, the telltale measles rash begins with a potentially high fever. Other unpleasant complications of measles include ear infections and diarrhea. For most of these milder symptoms, the patient will start to feel better in a couple of weeks. However, some of the more serious complications of measles are pneumonia and encephalitis. Encephalitis is swelling of the brain. These send people to the hospital. They last much longer or result in permanent effects like lung scarring, blindness, permanent nerve damage that can lead to hearing loss or seizures. For those who survive, there can be long-term consequences. A definition: immune amnesia. The measles virus attacks immune cells that have developed protection against pathogens they have been exposed to. These could be previous illnesses or even vaccines, anything. When those immune cells die, the new immune cells have no memory. The immune system resets to that of an infant. So for several years after measles, the patient is unable to fight other illnesses, even those from previous vaccinations. I would not be surprised if cases of other diseases trend up in patients that survive measles. We'll see how this progresses. Another complication that can show up many years later. The medical term is long. The illness is devastating. Subacute sclerosing panencephalitis, or SSPE. The brain swells, which leads to mental deterioration. Mortality is high. It is rare. In the recent past, there were less than 10 cases in the US per year. I would expect these numbers to increase with the increase in cases of measles. Public health. Timelines are important to assess who else may have been exposed. This is called surveillance or contact tracing. The day the rash appears is day 0. That is the rash onset date. A patient is infectious 4 days before and 4 days after the rash appears. So a host can spread measles before they are diagnosed. People who have been exposed are often told to quarantine. Press releases will alert the public about potential exposure at a specific location in a specific time frame. Here is a press release from Contra Costa Health in California notifying the public of a measles case. These alerts will also advise of next steps. Treatment. Since measles is a virus, antibiotics don't work. Doctors focus on supportive care. For the less serious symptoms, they recommend rest, fluids to prevent dehydration, fever reducers, and treatment for secondary infections. For children, doctors may suggest vitamin A, but talk with your child's pediatrician first. For children, they will avoid aspirin. For SSPE, or subacute sclerosing panencephalitis, treatment focuses on managing symptoms and slowing progression. There is no cure. Treatment for measles is prevention, so vaccines. The measles vaccines have not been around for a long time, so many seniors either had measles or were exposed to it. Vaccines for measles are the MMR and the MMRV. Please talk with your doctor or your child's pediatrician for this vaccine recommendation schedule. Travel may change a child's recommended vaccine schedule. The MMR. Children generally receive their first dose around 12 months. The MMR can also be recommended to vulnerable adults. It can even provide some protection if given within a short window after measles exposure. The MMRV is only for younger children, and the first dose is given around 12 months. 2 doses are recommended for both vaccines, and children are not fully protected until they've had all of their doses. For populations, herd immunity for measles is 95%. When vaccine levels dip below 95%, measles spreads easily. The best data we have for population immunity is vaccine levels for kindergarten students. For the past few years, national vaccine levels for measles vaccines in kindergartners have dipped below 95%. For 2024 to 2025 school year, it was 92.5%. The range was wide, from 98.3% in West Virginia to 79.6% in Idaho. Math. Each state has their own rules for vaccine exemptions for students. If state exemptions for measles vaccines are higher than 5%, the state cannot reach herd immunity at 95%. The math won't math. Over the past few years, medical exemptions for all vaccines have remained stable, but non-medical exemptions have trended up. In 2025, 17 states reported exemptions for all vaccines greater than 5%. Keep in mind, the MMR vaccine protects against measles, mumps, and rubella. The MMRV includes varicella, aka chickenpox. The vaccines or exposure to measles can provide lifelong protections against measles. If vaccine levels are low, we may see an uptick in the other diseases protected by the same vaccine. An aside about mumps. For mumps, immunity does fade. If mumps cases trend up, vaccine recommendations may change. We'll see how this progresses. Some good news. A federal judge has ruled that Health and Human Services must restore almost $12 million to the American Academy of Pediatrics while their lawsuit proceeds through the courts. Something good. We need the American Academy of Pediatrics. So 2025 was a rough year for measles cases. 2026 is going to be a big struggle for measles cases. So stay diligent, especially around newborns. Talk with your healthcare team about any risks and ask for suggestions, and check on your people. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. Comment something useful because none of us have time for nonsense right now. Stay safe. I'm Wanda Frazier. This is Your Body and You.